Breaking: Nnamdi Kanu convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. Hello and welcome back to GistAngle, your hub for hot gist and verified news updates. And we are bringing you summary details of all that happened today in the courtroom. Today in Abuja, the Federal High Court handed down a major verdict in the long-running terrorism trial of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Justice James Omotosho convicted him on all 7 counts brought by the prosecution, finding that his broadcast, public statements, and actions with IPOB amounted to terrorism. During the sentencing phase, the federal government asked for the death penalty, arguing that Kanu's actions were extremely serious. But in a surprising turn, the judge rejected that maximum punishment. Instead, he opted to impose life imprisonment, citing the need to balance justice with mercy and international concerns over capital punishment. Part of Kanu's sentence is broken down by the judge. For some of the counts, he will serve 20 years, and for another count, 5 years. But the judge ruled that these sentences will run at the same time. The court also ordered that Kanu be held in protective custody rather than in a typical prison, citing risk tied to his case. More strictly, the judge ruled that he must not have access to any digital device, arguing that his use of broadcast helped incite violence. The court further ordered the forfeiture of broadcast equipment allegedly used by Kanu, transferring it to the federal government. Before the sentence was passed, a member of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Obi Agwocha, made a personal appeal for leniency. He spoke emotionally, noting that he and Kanu knew each other for years and warned that a harsh sentence could destabilize part of the Southeast. In delivering his judgment, Justice Omotosho criticized some of Kanu's rhetoric. He said the sit-at-home orders enforced in Southeast Nigeria went beyond political activism. They amounted to a threat to citizens' freedom of movement and were used, according to the court, as a coercive tool. The conviction and sentence mark a turning point in how the Nigerian judiciary handles high-profile cases tied to separatist agitation. The ruling sends a strong message about the legal boundaries of political activism, especially when it intersects with national security. As for what happens next, observers expect that Kanu's legal team will appeal. Supporters are likely to react strongly, and the political fallout could be significant. For now, this verdict closes one chapter, but in many ways it opens another. However, today's outcome did not happen in a vacuum. Leading up to this judgment, there was intense legal friction. Earlier, Kanu attempted to challenge the validity of the terrorism law used against him, asking the court to refer the case to the Court of Appeal, but the judge rejected that request, ruling that the trial would proceed. The court had also previously foreclosed Kanu's defense after his team failed to present their arguments during the 6 days allocated for it. That meant the judge reached today's verdict based on the prosecution's evidence alone. This legal development shaped the path to today's ruling and ensured that by the time the judge sat down this morning, the direction of the trial was largely set. Now, my people, let's take a calm and balanced look at what today's judgment really means for the Southeast, for the federal government, and for Nigeria as a whole. Because even though the sentence has been delivered, the effect will continue long after the courtroom has closed. First, this ruling shows that the federal government is taking a firm stand on cases linked to national security. In past years, there were moments when it looked like government was unsure whether to negotiate, ignore, or take strong action. But today's judgment makes it clear, when an issue is seen as a threat to peace, the government will follow the strictest interpretation of the law. This does not mean everybody agrees, but it means the state has chosen its method. However, this judgment also carries emotional weight in the Southeast. For many people in the region, Nnamdi Kanu is not just a political figure. He represents long-standing frustrations, issues like poor development, unemployment, and the feeling of being left out politically. Because of that, some people may see the life sentence as painful, even if they do not support violence or any illegal activities. This means the government and community leaders will need to handle the coming days carefully. If reactions grow too emotional, there could be protest or tension, and security agencies must respond with caution, not force that can escalate things. For the security side, the next few days are important. Most places in the southeast have a history of reacting strongly to major news involving Kanu. Even announcements he made from detention in the past affected markets and daily life. So now, security officers will need to balance keeping peace with avoiding actions that ordinary people may see as intimidation. The hope is that both sides, that is, the security agents and citizens, will stay calm enough to avoid clashes. On the legal angle, this judgment may set a new guide for future cases. By convicting on all 7 charges, the court has created a strong example of how Nigeria may handle major political or separatist cases going forward. This could influence how activists, groups, and even politicians behave in coming years because the penalty now has a clear picture. Lawyers will definitely study the ruling to understand where the lines were drawn. Politically, the impact will be felt by leaders from the southeast. They now have a tough role. They must speak for their people, who may be hurt or angered by the judgment, but at the same time, they must also work with the federal government to keep the region stable. This is not an easy position for anyone. Some may call for peace and dialogue. Others may push for stronger political reforms. But one thing is sure, leaders must communicate clearly to prevent young people from acting out of anger. Nationally, this judgment could restart discussions that Nigerians usually avoid. Issues about restructuring, regional development, and how power is shared. For years, many people, not just in the southeast, have complained that Nigeria needs a deeper political reform. Whether you agree or not, Kanu's movement brought those conversations to the surface again. Now that the case has reached this point, more people may demand that government addresses these concerns instead of letting them grow into frustration. Internationally, today's decision will also attract attention. Human rights groups and foreign observers have followed this case for years. The fact that the judge chose life imprisonment instead of a death sentence will be seen as an attempt to avoid international controversy. But even with that, there will be questions. Will the judgment make the southeast calmer or more tense? Will there be appeals? Will Nigeria face pressure to negotiate? We will see in the coming weeks. Economically, this verdict may slow business activities in the southeast for a short time because whenever there is tension, markets and transport are the first to feel it. If people are afraid of unrest, they may stay home. Drivers avoid highways, shops close early, so traders and business owners will be waiting to see if the region stays calm or becomes unstable. Overall, today's judgment is not just a legal decision. It's a major national moment. It touches emotion, politics, security, economy, and even Nigeria's unity debate. Today's judgment may have ended the trial, but it hasn't ended the story. So what happens next? Stay tuned to GistAngle. Subscribe, like, share, and turn on your notification bell because the coming hours and days may reveal even bigger developments.
It's GistAngle.